Welcome, adventurers. Today we're setting off on a journey through the most captivating, thrilling, and unforgettable adventure games ever created. These are the games that have transported us to mysterious worlds, challenged our wits, and left us with stories we'll never forget. From the pixelated charm of the 80s to the cinematic brilliance of today, adventure games have always been about one thing: the joy of discovery. In this video, we'll count down the top 15 adventure games of all time. We'll explore their origins, their groundbreaking mechanics, and the moments that made them legendary. So grab your controller, mouse, or keyboard, and let's dive into the worlds that have defined a genre. Our journey begins with a game that redefined what an adventure game could be: Myst. Kicking off our list is Myst, a game that redefined the adventure genre with its hauntingly beautiful landscapes and intricate puzzles. Released in 1993, Myst was a revelation. Developed by brothers Robin and Rand Miller, it was created using HyperCard, a software tool for Macintosh. The game's surreal, otherworldly visuals were inspired by the works of Jules Verne and H.G. Wells. Players found themselves on a mysterious island, tasked with uncovering its secrets by solving puzzles and exploring its many ages. Myst was a commercial phenomenon, becoming the best-selling PC game of the 90s. It was a game that demanded patience and curiosity, rewarding players with a sense of wonder that few games have matched since. Fun fact: the iconic library in Myst was inspired by the Miller brothers' love of books and their desire to create a game that felt like stepping into a novel. As we move from the serene isolation of Myst, we find ourselves in a world filled with humor, charm, and swashbuckling adventure: The Secret of Monkey Island. Next up is The Secret of Monkey Island, a game that brought humor, charm, and swashbuckling adventure to the genre. Developed by LucasArts, it introduced us to Guybrush Threepwood, a wannabe pirate with a heart of gold and a knack for getting into trouble. Set in the fictional Caribbean, the game was a masterclass in point-and-click adventure design. Its witty dialogue, memorable characters, and clever puzzles made it an instant classic. Who could forget the insult sword fights, where Guybrush had to outwit his opponents with sharp comebacks? The game's art style, inspired by Disney animations, gave it a timeless appeal. And its soundtrack, composed by Michael Land, remains one of the most iconic in gaming history. Fun fact: the game's infamous rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle puzzle was inspired by a real-life brainstorming session where the developers tried to come up with the most ridiculous item possible. From the light-hearted humor of Monkey Island, we transition to a darker, more atmospheric adventure, Grim Fandango. Coming in at number 13 is Grim Fandango, a game that blends film noir, Mexican folklore, and dark comedy into a truly unique adventure. Developed by Tim Schafer, it's set in the land of the dead, where you play as Manny Calavera, a travel agent for the recently deceased. The game's Art Deco-inspired visuals and jazzy soundtrack create an atmosphere that's both eerie and enchanting. Its story, filled with twists, turns, and unforgettable characters, is a testament to Schafer's storytelling genius. Grim Fandango was a commercial flop at launch, but has since been recognized as a masterpiece. Its remastered version introduced a new generation to its brilliance. Fun fact: the game's iconic bone wagon was inspired by a real-life hot rod that Tim Schafer saw at a car show. From the land of the dead, we journey to the vast, open world of Hyrule, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. At number 12, we have Breath of the Wild, a game that redefined open-world exploration. Breaking away from traditional adventure game conventions, it gave players unparalleled freedom to explore, experiment, and create their own stories. Set in the vast, breathtaking land of Hyrule, the game's physics-based puzzles and dynamic weather system added layers of depth to the gameplay. Its minimalist storytelling, told through environmental cues and scattered memories, allowed players to piece together the narrative at their own pace. Fun fact: the game's developers drew inspiration from their own experiences hiking in the Japanese countryside, which is why Hyrule feels so alive and immersive. From the sprawling landscapes of Hyrule, we shift to a more intimate, narrative-driven experience: Life is Strange. Taking the number 11 spot is Life is Strange, a modern classic that explores themes of friendship, loss, and the consequences of our choices. You play as Max Caulfield, a photography student who discovers she has the power to rewind time. The game's emotional story, relatable characters, and stunning soundtrack made it a cultural phenomenon. Its episodic format allowed players to immerse themselves in the world of Arcadia Bay, making each decision feel personal and impactful. Fun fact: the game's developers consulted with real-life high school students to ensure the dialogue and characters felt authentic. From the emotional depth of Life is Strange, we move to a more meditative experience. Journey. At number 10, we have Journey, a game that transcends traditional storytelling. Developed by that game company, it's a meditative experience that explores themes of connection, perseverance, and the passage of time. Players take on the role of a robed figure traveling through a vast desert toward a distant mountain. Along the way, they may encounter other players with whom they can communicate only through musical chimes. The game's stunning visuals, composed by Austin Wintory, create an emotional journey that stays with you long after the credits roll. Fun fact: the game's development was inspired by the creator's own experiences hiking in the desert. From the serene beauty of Journey, we transition to the Wyoming wilderness, Firewatch. Coming in at number 9 is Firewatch, a first-person adventure game that combines mystery, introspection, and breathtaking visuals. Set in the Wyoming wilderness, you play as Henry, a fire lookout who forms a bond with his supervisor, Delilah, over a walkie-talkie. The game's story, filled with twists and emotional depth, explores themes of isolation and regret. Its vibrant art style and immersive sound design make the wilderness feel alive. Fun fact: the game's developers spent weeks hiking in national parks to capture the authenticity of the setting. From the solitude of Firewatch, we step into the chaos of a zombie apocalypse, The Walking Dead. At number 8, we have The Walking Dead, a game that brought emotional storytelling to the forefront of adventure gaming. Based on Robert Kirkman's comic series, the game follows Lee Everett and a young girl named Clementine as they navigate a zombie apocalypse. The game's branching narrative and moral dilemmas made every choice feel consequential. Its emotional ending left players in tears and cemented Clementine as one of gaming's most beloved characters. Fun fact: the game's success revitalized the adventure game genre and inspired a wave of narrative-driven games. From the emotional intensity of The Walking Dead, we shift to a quirky, heartfelt adventure, Undertale. Taking the number 7 spot is Undertale, a game that defies expectations. Developed by Toby Fox, it's a quirky, heartfelt adventure that blends RPG elements with traditional adventure game mechanics. Players can choose to spare or fight enemies, with each decision affecting the story's outcome. Its humor, memorable characters, and emotional depth have made it a cult classic. Fun fact: Toby Fox composed the game's entire soundtrack himself, drawing inspiration from classic RPGs. From the quirky charm of Undertale, we move to a more cerebral experience, Portal 2. At number 6, we have Portal 2, a game that combines puzzle solving with adventure storytelling. Set in the Aperture Science Facility, the game follows Chell as she navigates a series of increasingly complex puzzles using a portal gun. The game's dark humor, voiced by Stephen Merchant and J.K. Simmons, adds a layer of personality to the experience. Its co-op mode introduced new ways to play, making it a standout in the genre. Fun fact: the game's writers drew inspiration from classic sci-fi films like 2001: A Space Odyssey. From the mind-bending puzzles of Portal 2, we journey to a richly detailed fantasy world, The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt. At number 5, we have The Witcher 3, a sprawling epic that combines action, role-playing, and adventure into one unforgettable experience. As Geralt of Rivia, players explore a richly detailed world filled with moral dilemmas, complex characters, and breathtaking landscapes. The game's storytelling, inspired by Andrzej Sapkowski's novels, is some of the best in gaming history. Its expansions, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, are considered masterpieces in their own right. Fun fact: the game's developers spent over 3 years crafting the world and its stories. From the fantasy realm of The Witcher 3, we ride into the Wild West, Red Dead Redemption 2. Coming in at number 4 is Red Dead Redemption 2, a cinematic masterpiece that blurs the line between game and film. Set in the dying days of the Wild West, the game follows Arthur Morgan and the Van der Linde gang as they navigate a changing world. The game's attention to detail, from its dynamic weather system to its realistic wildlife, creates an immersive experience like no other. Its story, filled with moral ambiguity and emotional depth, is a testament to the power of interactive storytelling. Fun fact: the game's script is over 2,000 pages long, making it one of the most ambitious projects in gaming history. From the rugged landscapes of the Wild West, we transition to a desolate, hauntingly beautiful world, Shadow of the Colossus. At number 3, we have Shadow of the Colossus, a game that redefined what an adventure game could be. Set in a desolate, hauntingly beautiful world, the game follows Wander as he seeks to resurrect a young woman by defeating 16 colossi. The game's minimalist storytelling, combined with its epic boss battles and emotional score, creates an experience that's both awe-inspiring and heartbreaking. Fun fact: the game's development team faced numerous challenges, including technical limitations and a tight deadline, but their passion and creativity shine through in every frame. From the emotional intensity of Shadow of the Colossus, we move to a post-apocalyptic world, The Last of Us. Taking the number 2 spot is The Last of Us, a game that transcends the medium. Set in a post-apocalyptic world, the game follows Joel and Ellie as they navigate a world ravaged by a fungal infection. The game's story, filled with emotional depth and moral complexity, is a testament to the power of interactive storytelling. Its gameplay, which blends action, stealth, and survival, keeps players on the edge of their seats. Fun fact: the game's developers spent months researching fungi and their effects to create a realistic and terrifying infection. From the emotional journey of The Last of Us, we arrive at our number 1 pick, Chrono Trigger. And finally, the greatest adventure game of all time, Chrono Trigger. Developed by Square Enix, this timeless classic combines time travel, unforgettable characters, and a branching narrative into one unforgettable experience. The game's innovative mechanics, including its multiple endings and New Game Plus mode, set a new standard for the genre. Its story, written by Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama, is a masterclass in storytelling. Fun fact: the game's development team, known as the Dream Team, included some of the most talented developers in the industry, including Hironobu Sakaguchi, Yuji Horii, and Nobuo Uematsu. And there you have it, Adventurers, the top 15 adventure games of all time. These are the games that have defined the genre, pushed the boundaries of storytelling, and left an indelible mark on our hearts. Whether you're revisiting these classics or experiencing them for the first time, we hope this journey has inspired you to pick up a controller and embark on your own adventure. After all, as these games have shown us, the greatest adventures are the ones we create ourselves. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring.